I was supposed to be saying I do in 20 minutes. Instead, I stood frozen in the bridal suite, staring at a handwritten letter that had been slipped under my door. The paper trembled in my grip, each word a fresh wound. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I can't keep lying to you. Stefan and I have been seeing each other for months. We never meant to hurt you, but we fell in love. He's too much of a coward to tell you himself. You deserve to know before you walk down that aisle. Reagan. My best friend since college, my maid of honor, the woman who'd helped me pick out this wedding dress that suddenly felt like it was suffocating me. Stephanie, your mom's asking if you need help with the veil. The wedding coordinator's voice came through the door, bright and oblivious. My voice cracked. I need a minute. The room spun around me, 3 bouquets of white peonies on the vanity, a champagne bottle sweating in its ice bucket, my veil draped over a chair like a ghost, everything exactly as it should be, except for the bomb that had just detonated in my hands. I sank onto the tufted ottoman, the beating of my dress digging into my thighs. Outside the window, I could see guests arriving, moving across the lawn of the estate we'd spent a year saving for. My father was greeting people at the entrance, smiling, completely unaware his daughter's life was imploding. My phone buzzed. Stefan. Where are you? Your mom said you're not answering the door. My stomach lurched. Was he actually going to go through with this? Stand at the altar and lie to my face? Or was he hoping to catch me before I saw the letter? I typed back with shaking fingers. Did you fuck my maid of honor? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. That was my answer. A knock at the door made me jump. Stephanie? Honey? My mother's voice. Everyone's getting seated. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. If I opened that door, I'd have to tell her. I'd have to say the words out loud, and then this nightmare would be real. I'll be right there, I managed, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. My phone buzzed again. Stefan. I can explain. Please don't do anything crazy. Let's talk. A hot tear splashed onto the screen, followed by another. Then something shifted inside me, like a match striking in a dark room. I wiped my face roughly with the back of my hand and stood up. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My carefully applied makeup was smudged, eyes red-rimmed and wild. I looked like a woman on the edge of something dangerous. I grabbed my phone and typed, "Where is she?" His response came immediately. "Please, Steph, let me come to you." Where is she? Getting ready with the bridesmaids in the East Wing. I moved without thinking, yanking open the door. My mother stood there, elegant in her navy dress, her expression shifting from impatience to alarm. "Stephanie, what's wrong? You're a mess!" I pushed past her, my dress rustling like angry whispers as I strode down the hallway. Guests turned to stare. Someone gasped. I didn't care. "Honey, stop!" My mother hurried after me. "Whatever it is..." "Reagan is sleeping with Stefan." The words tasted like battery acid. Has been for months, apparently. My mother stopped dead. "What? That can't..." "It can. It is." I kept walking, my destination clear in my mind. The East Wing lounge door was closed. I could hear laughter inside. My bridesmaids, oblivious, probably taking photos and sipping champagne. I threw the door open. 4 women in sage green dresses turned toward me, smiles freezing on their faces. Reagan stood by the window, phone in hand. When she saw me, all the color drained from her face. "Everyone out," I said to the others, "except you." I pointed at Reagan. No one moved. "Now!" They scattered like startled birds, throwing confused glances between us as they fled. The door clicked shut behind them. Reagan's throat bobbed as she swallowed. "Stephanie, How long?" My voice was deadly quiet. She looked at the floor. 7 months. 7 months. While she helped me choose invitations, while she threw my bridal shower, while she hugged me and told me how lucky Stefan was. Were you ever going to tell me, or just let me marry him? I told you now, didn't I? Her voice cracked. I couldn't let you go through with it. How noble of you. I stepped closer. After fucking my fiancé for over half a year, it wasn't supposed to happen. Tears spilled down her cheeks. We tried to stop so many times. Yet somehow, you kept falling into bed with him. I love him, she whispered, and he loves me. Something inside me snapped. Then you can have him. I reached behind my neck, struggling with the buttons of my dress. With a violent tug, I ripped the delicate fabric, not caring as I heard seams pop. I stepped out of the puddle of white satin and lace, standing before her in just my slip and heels. "What are you doing?" Reagan's eyes were wide with alarm. I shoved the ruined dress into her arms. "Congratulations. The venue's paid for. The guests are here. You two deserve each other." "Stephanie, please." But I was already walking out, past the stunned faces of guests, past my father calling my name, past everything I thought my life was supposed to be. Behind me, I heard Stefan's voice. "Steph, wait." I didn't look back. I made it to the parking lot before my legs gave out. Sinking onto a decorative stone bench, I stared at the manicured grounds of the estate, the white chairs arranged in perfect rows, the flower-draped arch where I was supposed to be standing right now. The whole scene looked obscene in its perfection. "Stephanie." I didn't turn. I knew that voice too well. Stefan jogged toward me, his bow tie askew, panic etched across his face. The face I'd woken up to for 3 years, the face I'd trusted completely. "Don't," I said as he approached. "Just don't." He stopped a few feet away, hands spread. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you accidentally fell into my best friend? Repeatedly? For 7 months?" My voice was eerily calm, even to my own ears. It wasn't like that. He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. Now it made me want to scream. I tried to end it so many times. I swear I did. Yet here we are. I gestured to my slip and heels. Me in my underwear, you in your wedding suit, and Reagan probably trying on my dress, his face contorted. This isn't a joke. Do I look like I'm laughing? I stood up, suddenly aware of how exposed I was. Guests were starting to filter out of the venue, drawn by the commotion. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "I never meant to hurt you," Stefan said, his voice dropping. "I was going to tell you." "When? After our honeymoon? On our anniversary? When exactly were you planning to mention you've been screwing my maid of honor?" He flinched. "I know you're angry." "Angry doesn't begin to cover it." I laughed, a harsh sound that scraped my throat. "I'm not just angry, Stefan. I'm disgusted. With you, with Reagan, but mostly with myself for being so blind." My mother pushed through the gathering crowd, my father trailing behind her. She draped her shawl around my shoulders. "Come on, honey, let's get you somewhere private." I shrugged her off. "No, I'm done hiding. I'm done being the last to know." Stefan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Please, Steph, not like this. Not in front of everyone." "Why not? You had no problem lying to my face in front of everyone. You were ready to say vows you didn't mean, make promises you'd already broken." A flash of something, guilt, shame, I couldn't tell, crossed his face. "I did love you. I still do." "That's worse," I said, my voice breaking. "That makes it so much worse." Movement at the venue entrance caught my eye. Reagan stood there, still in her bridesmaid dress, watching us. Our eyes locked across the distance. For a moment, I saw a flicker of remorse on her face. Then she took a step toward Stefan, and something inside me hardened. "You know what?" I said, turning back to him. "You two deserve each other. A liar and a traitor. Perfect match." "That's not fair," he protested. "Fair?" I laughed again. "You want to talk about fair? I spent the last year planning our life together while you were planning hookups with my best friend. I trusted both of you with everything. So don't you dare talk to me about fair." My father stepped forward, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "That's enough, Stefan. I think you should go." Stefan ignored him, his eyes fixed on me. "Steph, please, can we just talk? Privately?" "There's nothing left to say." I turned away, but he grabbed my arm. "Wait, there's something you don't know." My father shoved him back. "She said that's enough." Stefan stumbled, his face flushing. "This isn't just about me and Reagan. There's more to it." "Like what?" I demanded. He glanced around at the watching crowd, then leaned in. "It's about your mother, and mine." I stared at him, uncomprehending. "What are you talking about?" My mother went rigid beside me. "Stefan, don't." The warning in her voice made my skin prickle. I looked between them, suddenly aware of a current I couldn't understand. "What about our mothers?" I pressed. Stefan's expression hardened. "Ask her. Ask her why Reagan hates your family so much." My mother grabbed my arm. "We're leaving. Now." "Mom? What is he talking about?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. "This isn't the time or place." "When is the time?" I pulled away from her. "When were any of you planning to tell me the truth about anything?" "Stephanie," my father said gently. "Let's go home. We can sort this out later." I looked back at Stefan, who stood watching me with a strange mix of defiance and regret. Behind him, Reagan had moved closer, hovering uncertainly at the edge of the scene. "Fine," I said finally, "but I'm not going with you. I need space." "Where will you go?" my mother asked, her voice tight with worry, or was it fear? I thought of the honeymoon suite at the hotel downtown. The one Stefan and I were supposed to spend tonight in. The one I'd filled with rose petals and champagne yesterday. "Somewhere I can think," I said, alone. I walked toward the parking lot, aware of every eye on me, of the whispers following in my wake. My phone buzzed in my hand, a text from Terrell, one of Stefan's friends from work, who I'd only met a few times during wedding planning. I saw what happened. "Need a ride? No strings, just help." I hesitated, then typed back, "Yes, back parking lot, and bring a jacket." As I waited, I glanced back one last time. Stefan and Reagan stood together now, their heads bent in conversation. My parents watched me, my mother's face a mask of anxiety. What was it Stefan had tried to tell me? What secret connected our families? Whatever it was, I was going to find out. And then they'd all learn what happens when you underestimate the bride. Tyrell's sleek black Audi pulled up beside me 5 minutes later. He leaned across to push open the passenger door, his expression carefully neutral. "You okay?" he asked as I slid in. I pulled my mother's shawl tighter around my shoulders. "Define okay." He handed me a navy hoodie from the back seat. "Better than standing in the parking lot in your slip." I tugged the hoodie on, grateful for its warmth and coverage. "Thanks for this. I know you're Stefan's friend." "Not today, I'm not." He pulled away from the curb, navigating past clusters of bewildered wedding guests. "Where to?" I hadn't thought that far ahead. My apartment was out. Stefan had a key. My parents' house was the last place I wanted to be right now. "The Westlake Hotel," I decided. I already paid for the honeymoon suite. Might as well use it. Tyrell raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. We drove in silence for several minutes, the only sound the soft jazz playing through his speakers. "Can I ask you something?" I finally said. "Shoot." "Did you know about Stefan and Reagan?" His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Not until recently. I overheard them arguing at his bachelor party last weekend. That's when I pieced it together." "And you didn't think to tell me?" "I barely know you, Stephanie, and I thought—" He sighed. "I thought Stefan would do the right thing." I laughed bitterly. "Guess you don't know him as well as you thought." "Guess not." He glanced at me. "For what it's worth, I think what they did was fucked up. That makes two of us." I stared out the window at the passing city, trying to process the surreal turn my life had taken. Stefan said something weird before I left, about my mother and his, and Reagan hating my family. "Do you know anything about that?" Terrell shook his head. "Sorry, Stefan never talked much about family stuff." My phone buzzed again, another text from Stefan. "Please call me. This isn't just about us. You need to know the whole story." I switched my phone to silent and shoved it in the hoodie pocket. "You don't have to stay at the hotel, you know," Tyrell said, as we approached downtown. "My sister has a guest house she's not using. It's private. No one would look for you there." "Thanks, but I need to face this mess sometime. Might as well start with the honeymoon suite." 20 minutes later, I stood in the doorway of a room designed for romance. Rose petals scattered across the king-sized bed. Champagne chilling in an ice bucket. A gift basket with massage oils and chocolate-covered strawberries. Jesus, Tyrell muttered behind me. Yeah. I stepped inside, kicking petals aside. Welcome to my personal hell. Want me to stay or call someone? I shook my head. I need to be alone. After he left, I sat on the edge of the bed, surrounded by the trappings of a celebration that would never happen. The numbness that had carried me through the past hour began to crack. Tears welled up, hot and unstoppable. I cried until my throat was raw, until my eyes burned, until I had nothing left. Then I stood up, went to the bathroom, and stared at my reflection. Mascara streaked down my cheeks, hair falling from its elaborate updo, eyes swollen and red. Enough, I told my reflection. Enough crying. I washed my face, then changed into the hotel robe. The plush white fabric felt like armor after the vulnerability of standing in my slip. My phone had accumulated a dozen missed calls and twice as many texts. I scrolled through them. My parents, bridesmaids, even my aunt from Florida. Nothing from Reagan. One more from Stefan. I'm coming to the hotel. We need to talk. A surge of panic shot through me. Of course he'd know where I was. I'd told him about the surprise honeymoon suite weeks ago. I couldn't face him. Not yet. Not here, surrounded by reminders of what should have been. I grabbed my phone and headed for the door, then stopped. Where would I go? In a hotel robe? With no money, no ID? A knock at the door made me freeze. Stephanie? It's me, please open up. Not Stefan's voice. My mother's. I hesitated, then cracked the door. She stood alone in the hallway, clutching her purse, her face drawn with worry. Can I come in? I stepped back, letting her enter. She took in the rose petals, the champagne, her expression crumpling. Oh, honey. Don't, I warned. I've cried enough today. She nodded, perching awkwardly on the edge of the desk chair. Stefan's looking for you. I know. He wants to explain. Explain what? I crossed my arms. What did he mean about you and his mother? About Reagan hating our family? My mother's gaze dropped to her hands. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. She sighed, suddenly looking older than her 55 years. Reagan's mother and I were friends once, best friends, like you and Reagan. We had a falling out over Stefan's father. The room seemed to tilt. What? Before I met your father, I was engaged to Antonio, Stefan's dad, but he left me for Reagan's mother, Diane. I sank onto the bed. You were engaged to Stefan's father? Yes, it was a long time ago. And you never thought to mention this? When I started dating Stefan? When we got engaged? It didn't seem relevant. It was ancient history. Ancient history that somehow led to my maid of honor sleeping with my fiancé. My voice rose. How is that not relevant? I didn't know Reagan knew, my mother said quietly. I never thought she'd... What? Take revenge? Destroy my relationship like her mother destroyed yours? My mother flinched. It wasn't that simple. Then explain it to me, I demanded. All of it. Before she could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Tyrell. Stefan just arrived at the hotel. Thought you should know. I showed my mother the screen. We need to go, now. She nodded, standing quickly. My car's out back. We can take the service elevator. As we slipped out of the room, I realized I was still in the hotel robe. No clothes, no shoes, nothing but my phone and the key card. It didn't matter. What mattered was getting answers, and staying one step ahead of Stefan. Because now I knew this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about secrets, family secrets, and I was going to uncover every last one of them. You can't keep running from this conversation, my mother said as we pulled away from the hotel. I sat beside her in the passenger seat, still wearing nothing but the hotel robe and the key card tucked into its pocket. I'm not running from the conversation. I'm running from Stefan. I stared out the window, watching the hotel shrink in the side mirror. And don't act like you're not the queen of avoiding difficult topics. 29 years and you never mentioned you were engaged to my fiancé's father? She flinched. It wasn't relevant until my best friend slept with my fiancé as some twisted form of generational revenge. I turned to face her. How long have you known Reagan was Diane's daughter? My mother's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Since you introduced us at your college graduation? 6 years? I let out a disbelieving laugh. You've known for 6 years who she was and you said nothing. What was I supposed to say? By the way, honey, your new best friend is the daughter of the woman who stole my fiancé 30 years ago? Yes, exactly that. I slammed my hand against the dashboard. Instead, you smiled and hugged her and acted like everything was fine. I thought it was fine. She turned onto the highway, heading away from the city. Diane and I made our peace years ago. Antonio and I weren't meant to be. I realized that after I met your father. I never imagined Reagan would know about any of it, let alone care. Well, she clearly does. I rubbed my temples, trying to process this new reality. What happened between you and Diane? The full story, Mom. No more editing. She was quiet for so long I thought she might refuse to answer. Then she sighed. Antonio and I were engaged for 8 months. Diane was my maid of honor, just like Reagan was yours. The parallel made me wince. 2 weeks before the wedding, I found them together, in our bed. The echo of my own betrayal hung between us. They swore it was a one-time mistake, that they were drunk and it meant nothing. Her voice hardened. I believed them, forgave them. The wedding was still on until the day Antonio came to me and said he couldn't go through with it, that he'd fallen in love with Diane. And then what? I fell apart, moved back in with my parents, didn't leave the house for months. She glanced at me. Sound familiar? I'm not falling apart, I said automatically. No. A small, sad smile touched her lips. You're stronger than I was. We drove in silence for several minutes, the implications of her story settling over me like a heavy blanket. So Reagan knew all this? I finally asked. I don't know how she found out. Diane and I haven't spoken in years. She hesitated. But there's something else you should know. After Antonio left me, I did something I'm not proud of. A chill ran through me. What did you do? I was hurt, angry. I wanted to hurt them back. She swallowed hard. I told Antonio's family about Diane's past, things she'd confided in me that she never wanted anyone to know. What things? That's not my story to tell, not anymore. She shook her head. But it destroyed her relationship with his family. They never accepted her, even after she and Antonio married. I stared at my mother, this woman I thought I knew completely. You ruined her life because she stole your fiancé? I was young and heartbroken. I'm not proud of it. She turned onto a familiar road, the one leading to my childhood home. But I've always wondered if that's why Reagan did this. An eye for an eye. The pieces were starting to fit together, forming a picture I wasn't sure I wanted to see. So my relationship was collateral damage in a 30-year-old vendetta? I don't know, honey, maybe. Or maybe Reagan and Stefan really did fall for each other, and the past just made it easier for her to betray you. We pulled into my parents' driveway. The house looked exactly as it always had. The blue shutters, the hanging ferns on the porch, the wind chimes my father had hung years ago. A snapshot of normalcy that felt completely disconnected from the chaos of my life. I can't stay here, I said as she turned off the engine. Stefan knows this is the first place I'd go. Just for tonight, to regroup, get some real clothes. She touched my arm. Your father and I will help you figure this out. Inside, my father waited in the living room, pacing. When he saw me in the hotel robe, his face crumpled. Steph. He wrapped me in a hug that smelled of the cologne he'd worn my entire life. For a moment, I let myself be his little girl again, safe in his arms. Then I pulled away. I need clothes, and then I need answers. Your old room is just how you left it, he said. Take whatever you need. Upstairs, I found a pair of jeans and a sweater I'd left behind years ago. As I changed, my phone buzzed with a text from Terrell. Stefan left the hotel. Reagan was with him. They were arguing in the lobby. I texted back, "Thanks for the update. I'm at my parents' house, trying to figure out what to do next." His response came quickly. "Want backup? I know where Stefan keeps all his skeletons." I stared at the message, an idea forming. If this was about family secrets and old vendettas, then I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. And who better to help me than someone with inside access to Stefan's life? Yes, I typed. Meet me tomorrow. I want to know everything. As I set my phone down, another text came through. From Reagan this time. We need to talk. Alone. There's more to this story than you know, more than Stefan knows. I sat on my childhood bed, surrounded by remnants of a simpler time, debate trophies, prom photos, college pennants. The life I'd had before all this. What more could there possibly be? And did I even want to know? Yes, I did, because knowledge was power. And right now, I needed all the power I could get. Tomorrow, I texted back to Reagan. Noon. The cafe on Maple. Come alone. Whatever game they were playing, I was done being a pawn. From now on, I was making the moves. I arrived at the cafe 20 minutes early, choosing a corner table with my back to the wall. The place was busy enough to provide background noise, but not so crowded that we'd be overheard. Perfect for the conversation I was about to have. Can I get you anything while you wait? The server smiled, pen poised over her notepad. Just coffee. Black. My stomach was too knotted for food. As I waited, I scrolled through the information Tyrell had texted me that morning. Details about Stefan's finances, his recent secretive meetings, even screenshots of text exchanges with Reagan. Nothing earth-shattering, but enough to confirm the timeline of their betrayal. 7 months of lies while I planned our wedding. The cafe door opened, and Reagan walked in. She'd traded her bridesmaid dress for jeans and an oversized sweater that made her look smaller, younger. Her eyes darted around until they found me. For a moment, I thought she might turn and flee. Then she squared her shoulders and approached. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the seat across from mine. I'm not here for pleasantries. I kept my voice level. You said there's more to the story, so talk. She ordered a tea when the server returned, then waited until we were alone again. I don't know where to start. How about with why? Why my fiancé? Was it just about getting back at my mother? Reagan's eyes widened. She told you? About her engagement to Antonio? About your mother stealing him? Yeah, she filled me in. I leaned forward. What I don't understand is why you'd punish me for something that happened before either of us was born. It wasn't like that. She wrapped her hands around her mug. Not at first, anyway. Then what was it like? I didn't know who you were when we met in college. I swear. Her voice trembled slightly. My mom never talked about her past. It was only after I brought you home that first Thanksgiving break that she told me everything. Everything? About the affair with Antonio. About your mother's revenge. Her eyes hardened. Do you know what your mother did? The secrets she exposed? I shook my head. My mom had a child when she was 16, a baby she gave up for adoption. Reagan's voice dropped to a whisper. No one knew except your mother. They were best friends. She'd trusted her with that secret. The server returned with Reagan's tea. We sat in silence until she left. Your mother told Antonio's entire family, Reagan continued, conservative Catholic people who treated my mom like dirt for the next 30 years. They never accepted her, never stopped punishing her for a mistake she made as a teenager. I felt sick. That doesn't excuse what you did to me. No, it doesn't. She looked down. But it's why I didn't tell you who I was when I found out. I was angry at first, but then I liked you, Stephanie. You became my friend, my best friend. I decided the past didn't matter. Until you slept with Stefan. She flinched. That wasn't planned. We were working late on your wedding surprise, that video montage. Talking about you, about the wedding. One thing led to another. Spare me the details. I cut her off. You said there's more to this story than I know. Than Stefan knows. What did you mean? Reagan took a deep breath. The baby my mom gave up? She found him 5 years ago. They reconnected. And it's Tyrell. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. What? Tyrell is my half-brother. My mother's son. She met my eyes. Stefan doesn't know. No one does, except my mom and me. And now you. I sat back, stunned. Tyrell has been helping me, giving me information about Stefan, about you. I know. A sad smile crossed her face. He texted me last night, said he was playing both sides, trying to figure out what was really going on. Why would he do that? Because he's protective of me, even though we've only known each other a few years. But he also thinks what Stefan and I did was wrong. She shrugged. He's caught in the middle. Just like I was caught in the middle of a decades-old feud I'd known nothing about. There's one more thing, Reagan said quietly. Something I found in Stefan's email last month. You went through his email? I had a feeling he was hiding something. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through it, then pushed it across the table. Look. It was an email chain between Stefan and a real estate agent in Chicago. Plans for a new job, a new apartment. Dated 3 months ago, when our wedding planning was in full swing. He was planning to leave, I whispered, before any of this happened. I confronted him about it. He said he felt trapped, that he'd proposed because it seemed like the next logical step, but he wasn't ready. Her eyes filled with tears. That's when things escalated between us. I was angry, hurt for you. We argued, then you slept together. The pieces were falling into place. And kept sleeping together. I'm not proud of it. She wiped at her eyes. The letter, I wrote it the night before the wedding because I couldn't let you marry someone who didn't really want to be there, who was planning an escape route before you even walked down the aisle. I stared at the email, my vision blurring. Everything I thought I knew about my relationship, about my future, had been a lie. Stefan hadn't just betrayed me with Reagan. He'd been planning to abandon me anyway. Why are you telling me all this now? I asked. Because Stefan's spinning his own version of events, making it sound like this was all about family revenge. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. And because, despite everything, you were my best friend for years, you deserve the truth. The truth? What a concept. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyrell. We need to talk. Stefan knows I've been helping you. Things are getting complicated. I looked up at Reagan, this woman I'd trusted with every secret, every insecurity, every dream. This woman who'd betrayed me in the worst possible way, yet was now offering me a truth no one else had. I have to go, I said, standing abruptly. Stephanie, wait. I need time to process all this. I grabbed my purse. And I need to talk to Tyrell. Her eyes widened. You can't tell him I told you. I don't owe you any promises. I turned to leave, then looked back. But thank you for the truth. It's more than anyone else has given me. As I walked out of the cafe, my phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. Stefan was just here looking for you. He says Reagan isn't telling you everything. Come home, please. The web of lies and secrets was growing more tangled by the hour, but one thing was becoming crystal clear. This wasn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. This was about family, truth, and the stories we tell ourselves about the people we love. I met Tyrell at a small park 3 blocks from the cafe. He sat on a bench, hands jammed in his pockets, looking nothing like the confident man who'd rescued me from my wedding disaster. When he saw me approaching, he stood quickly. Thanks for coming, he said. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked without preamble. His expression shifted. Tell you what? That you're Reagan's half-brother, that this whole time you've been playing both sides. He exhaled slowly. She told you. Yes, along with the fact that Stefan was planning to leave me before any of this happened. I crossed my arms. So much for being on my side. I am on your side. He gestured to the bench. Can we sit, please? I hesitated, then sat, keeping distance between us. Explain. Yes, Reagan is my half-sister. I found my birth mother, our mother, 5 years ago. He stared at his hands. But that doesn't mean I condone what she and Stefan did. I've been trying to understand what's really going on, that's all. By feeding me information while reporting back to her, I haven't told her everything. He looked at me directly. I didn't tell her about the prenup, for instance. That stopped me cold. What prenup? The one Stefan had drawn up 3 weeks ago. It's heavily in his favor, protects his family's assets, limits what you'd get in a divorce. He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. I found it when I was going through his accounts for you. I stared at the document, nausea rising in my throat. He never mentioned a prenup. He was going to spring it on you right before the wedding, when you'd feel too committed to back out. Another betrayal, another lie. The hits kept coming, each one eroding what little faith I had left in my judgment. Why are you really helping me, Tyrell? What's your angle in all this? He was quiet for a moment. When I found my birth mother, I discovered this whole family I never knew I had. Reagan became important to me, but so did the truth. He sighed. When I realized what was happening between her and Stefan, I tried to stop it. Told her she was making a mistake. She wouldn't listen. So this is... what? Your attempt to make things right? Maybe. Or maybe I just hate seeing someone get screwed over by people who are supposed to love them. His voice hardened. I know what that feels like. Something in his tone made me believe him. What else haven't you told me? Stefan's been talking to your father, multiple calls over the past 2 days. My father? That made no sense. About what? I don't know, but they met this morning at your father's office. I tried to process this new information. My father and Stefan conspiring behind my back, after everything that had happened. There's more, Tyrell said quietly. Stefan knows about me, that I'm Reagan's brother. He confronted me last night, accused me of orchestrating this whole thing as some twisted family revenge plot. Are you? No. His eyes met mine, steady and clear. But he's paranoid now, convinced everyone's out to get him. He's talking about leaving town, taking Reagan with him. The thought of them running off together, after destroying my life, after all the lies, ignited something fierce inside me. Let them go, I said, surprising myself with how cold my voice sounded. They deserve each other. Is that really what you want? To just let them walk away? No. What I wanted was answers, accountability, some recognition of the pain they'd caused. My phone rang, my father. I let it go to voicemail. I need to think, I said, standing up. Figure out what to do next. Be careful, Stephanie. Stefan's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. I nodded, turning to leave, when my phone buzzed with a text. From my mother. Come home now. Your father had a heart attack. We're at Memorial Hospital. The world tilted beneath me. I have to go. My dad... I couldn't finish the sentence. What happened? Tyrell was on his feet. Heart attack. He's at Memorial. I was already moving, fumbling for my car keys. I'll drive you, Tyrell said, taking the keys from my shaking hands. You're in no condition. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur. My mind raced with terrible possibilities. Was it serious? Would he be okay? Was it the stress of everything that had happened? In the hospital waiting room, I found my mother pacing, her face drawn with worry. Mom! I rushed to her. How is he? What happened? She gripped my arms. He's stable. They're running tests. Her eyes darted to Tyrell, then back to me. He collapsed during a meeting with Stefan. Stefan was with him when it happened? The coincidence seemed too convenient. Yes. Stefan called the ambulance, stayed until I got here. She lowered her voice. Stephanie, your father was trying to get Stefan to sign annulment papers, to protect you legally. Annulment papers? Since you never went through with the ceremony, your father wanted to make sure there were no legal complications. Stefan refused to sign. She glanced around nervously. They argued. That's when your father clutched his chest and fell. Cold anger washed over me. Where is Stefan now? He left about 20 minutes ago, said he had to meet someone. She squeezed my hand. Honey, forget about him. Focus on your father. But I couldn't forget. Not now. Not when Stefan's refusal to sign those papers might have contributed to my father's condition. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Andres, your father's friend. I have information about Stefan you need to see. The documents your father was working on. Meet me at his office in an hour." Andres, my father's oldest friend and law partner. If he had the annulment papers. "I need to go," I told my mother. "Just for an hour. I'll be back." "Stephanie, your father is stable. You said it yourself." I hugged her quickly. "This is important, Mom. I need to finish what Dad started." As Terrell and I headed for the exit, I spotted a familiar figure turning the corner ahead. Stefan. He hadn't left after all. He was still here, moving purposefully toward the hospital pharmacy. "Change of plans," I said to Tyrell. "I need to follow Stefan first." Because now I understood. This wasn't just about getting answers anymore. This was about protecting my family, and I was done letting Stefan call the shots. "Stay back," I whispered to Terrell as we followed Stefan through the hospital corridor. "I don't want him to see us." Stefan moved with purpose, checking his phone every few steps. He bypassed the pharmacy and headed for the emergency exit at the end of the hall. "Where is he going?" Tyrell murmured. The answer came as Stefan pushed through the door into the parking garage. We hung back, watching through the small window as he approached a familiar figure waiting by a concrete pillar. Reagan. "I need to hear what they're saying," I said, easing the door open just enough to slip through. We crept closer, ducking behind cars until we were close enough to hear their hushed conversation. "Didn't sign," Stefan was saying. Then he collapsed. It was chaos. "So what now?" Reagan's voice was tense. "We can't just leave." "Why not? There's nothing keeping us here." He ran a hand through his hair. "The annulment papers are still in his office. If we leave now—" "And go where, Stefan? With what money?" "I told you, my trust fund isn't accessible for another year." She crossed her arms. "And I'm not running away like we did something wrong." "We did do something wrong," his voice echoed in the concrete space. "We hurt Stephanie. We lied to everyone, and now her father might die because of us." "He's not going to die," Reagan said. "Mom called. He's stable." "Your mother called." Stefan looked stunned. "Why would she—" "Because despite everything, she still cares about Monica, about what happens to her family." Reagan sighed. "This has gone too far, Stefan. We need to end it." "End what? Us? The lies? The running?" She touched his arm. "We need to face Stephanie. Tell her everything." "She already knows everything." "No, she doesn't." Reagan's voice dropped. "She doesn't know about the baby." The world stopped. My ears rang. "Baby? What baby?" Stefan's face drained of color. "You told me you weren't sure." "I'm sure now. 8 weeks." She placed a hand on her stomach. "I took the test yesterday." I must have made a sound, a gasp, a step backward, because suddenly they both turned, spotting me between the cars. "Stephanie!" Stefan's voice was barely audible. I stepped forward, my whole body trembling with rage and shock. "A baby? You're having his baby?" Reagan's eyes filled with tears. "I was going to tell you." "When? After you ran away together? After you destroyed what was left of my life?" My voice rose with each word. Was any of it real? Our friendship? The years we spent sharing every secret, every dream? "Of course it was real," she whispered. "Then how could you do this?" I gestured between them. "How could either of you?" Stefan stepped forward. "Stephanie, I know you're hurt." "Hurt?" I laughed, a harsh sound that scraped my throat. "Hurt doesn't begin to cover what I am. I'm gutted. I'm shattered. I'm standing here listening to the 2 people I trusted most plan their future while my father lies in a hospital bed because of you." "That's not fair," Stefan protested. "I called the ambulance. I stayed until your mother arrived. After refusing to sign papers that would have given me a clean break. After lying to my face for months. After planning to leave me even before you started sleeping with my best friend." I was shaking now, years of pent-up rage finding its target. "You never loved me, either of you." That's not true, Reagan said. I loved you like a sister. Sisters don't do this to each other. I stepped closer, close enough to see the fear in her eyes. You knew exactly what you were doing. Both of you. This wasn't some accident, some moment of weakness. This was a choice. Every text, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine, those were all choices. Tyrell appeared at my side. Stephanie, your father is part of this too, I cut him off. Everyone keeping secrets. Everyone thinking they know what's best for me. I turned back to Stefan and Reagan. Well, I'm done being managed. Done being lied to. Done being the last to know about my own life. Stefan reached for me. Please, just listen. I slapped his hand away. No, you listen. I don't want your explanations or your excuses. I want you to sign those annulment papers. I want you both out of my life. And I want you to live with what you've done, not just to me, but to yourselves. Reagan was crying openly now. Steph, don't call me that. Don't call me anything. I backed away. You're having a baby with my fiancé. Congratulations. I hope you're both very happy. I turned to leave, but Stefan grabbed my arm. Wait, there's something you don't know. About your mother. About why all this happened. I yanked free. I know enough. My mother exposed your mother's secret. Reagan took revenge by sleeping with you. The cycle of hurt continues. I looked between them. But it stops with me. I refuse to be part of it anymore. It's not that simple, Stefan insisted. Your mother didn't just expose Diane's secret. I don't care. The words exploded from me. Whatever happened between our parents is their business. What you two did to me is yours, and how I respond is mine. My phone rang. My mother. I answered immediately. Stephanie, where are you? Your father's asking for you. I'm on my way, I said, relief washing through me. If he was asking for me, he was conscious, alive. I hung up and faced Stefan one last time. My father is awake. I'm going to him now. When I come back, I expect those papers to be signed and on his desk. I stepped closer, my voice dropping. Or I swear I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people you really are. As I walked away, Reagan called after me. Stephanie, please. There's more you need to know. I kept walking, Tyrell at my side. Whatever more there was, whatever secrets still lurked in the shadows of our family's pasts, I was done chasing them, done letting them control me. Because in that moment, standing in that cold parking garage, facing the ruins of my old life, I finally understood what mattered. Not revenge, not the past, but the truth. My truth. And my truth was that I deserved better than all of them. My father's hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of monitors. He looked smaller somehow, propped against white pillows, an IV line snaking from his arm. But his eyes were clear and alert when I entered. There she is, he said, his voice raspy but strong. My runaway bride. Dad. I rushed to his side, taking his hand. How are you feeling? Like an elephant sat on my chest. He squeezed my fingers. But the doctors say it was just a warning, minor damage. I'll be fine. My mother stood at the window, relief softening her face. He needs to rest, but he insisted on seeing you first. I need to tell her something, my father said, before anyone else does. A chill ran through me. More secrets. Always more secrets. What is it? I asked. He glanced at my mother, who nodded slightly. It's about Antonio, Stefan's father, and why I was so determined to get those annulment papers signed. I sank into the chair beside his bed. I know about Mom and Antonio, about their engagement. Yes, but there's more. He took a labored breath. Antonio and I were business partners once, long before I met your mother. He cheated me out of everything, left me bankrupt. I stared at him. What? When your mother and I started dating, she had no idea about my history with Antonio. By the time she told me about her past with him, we were already in love. He smiled faintly at my mother. It seemed like fate, both of us betrayed by the same man. So, when I started dating Stefan, I was terrified history would repeat itself. His grip tightened on mine. I should have told you, should have warned you. but I didn't want to taint your happiness with my old grudges. That's why you pushed for the annulment papers, I said slowly. Not just to protect me legally, but to sever any connection to Antonio's family. He nodded. Stefan refused to sign. Said he wanted to talk to you first. That's when my chest. He gestured vaguely. My mother moved to his side. That's enough for now. You need to rest. No. I stood up. I need to know everything. All of it. No more half-truths. My father sighed. Antonio's company is in trouble. Has been for months. When Stefan announced your engagement, Antonio approached me about a merger. I refused. A merger? I felt sick. Was that why Stefan proposed? For a business deal? I don't know, my father admitted. But when I confronted him with the annulment papers, he mentioned the merger again. Said it could still happen, even without the marriage. The pieces clicked into place. Stefan's secret plans to leave, the prenup, his desperation to talk to me, even after being caught with Reagan. It was never about me, I whispered. Any of it. My mother touched my shoulder. I'm so sorry, honey. I shook my head, a strange calm settling over me. Don't be. I needed to know. I leaned down to kiss my father's forehead. Rest now. I'll be back soon. Where are you going? My mother asked as I headed for the door. To finish this, once and for all. I found Andres, my father's law partner, waiting in the hospital lobby. He handed me a manila envelope. The annulment papers, and something else your father wanted you to have. Inside was a USB drive labeled Mitchell-Harper Merger Proposal. Thank you. I tucked it into my purse. I know exactly what to do with this. I drove to my father's office alone, having sent Tyrell home. This final confrontation needed to be mine alone. Stefan was waiting in the conference room, just as I'd texted him to be. No sign of Reagan. Where's your partner in crime? I asked, setting my purse on the table. She went home. He looked exhausted, his perfect facade finally cracking. I told her I needed to do this alone. Do what exactly? Explain. Apologize. He pushed a document across the table, the signed annulment papers. Give you this. I glanced at his signature, then back at him. Why the change of heart? Your father almost died today. Because of me. He swallowed hard. I never wanted that, any of it. But you wanted my father's company. I pulled out the USB drive. That's why you proposed, isn't it? To secure the merger your father wanted. His eyes widened. How did you... It doesn't matter. I placed the drive between us. What matters is that I finally see you clearly. All of you. The lies, the manipulation, the games. It wasn't all a lie, he said quietly. I did care for you. Just not enough to be honest. Not enough to be faithful. I picked up the annulment papers. Not enough to choose me over your father's business interests or my best friend's bed. He flinched. What can I say that would make any difference now? Nothing. I stood up. But I can say something that might make a difference to you. I leaned across the table, my voice steady. I forgive you. Confusion crossed his face. What? Not for your sake, but for mine. I forgive you for being weak, selfish, and dishonest. I forgive Reagan for betraying our friendship. I forgive my parents for hiding the truth. I straightened up. Because I refuse to carry this weight any further. I refuse to let your actions define my future. Stephanie, I'm not finished. I held up a hand. I forgive you, but I will never forget. And neither will anyone else. I pulled out my phone, showing him the screen. An email draft with the merger documents attached, addressed to every major business publication in the city. Unless you and your father withdraw the merger proposal completely, everyone will know how you tried to manipulate my family, how you used me. I smiled thinly. Your choice. His face drained of color. You wouldn't. The old Stephanie wouldn't have. The woman who needed everyone's approval, who avoided conflict at all costs. I tucked my phone away. But I'm not her anymore. I gathered the annulment papers and headed for the door. At the threshold, I paused and looked back at him. This man I'd once believed was my future. Goodbye, Stefan. I hope your child never learns what you were willing to sacrifice for a business deal. As I walked through the empty office, past the darkened cubicles and silent conference rooms, a weight lifted from my shoulders. The betrayal would always be part of my story, but it wouldn't be the whole story, not anymore. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with possibility. For the first time since finding that letter on my wedding day, I felt truly free. Not because I'd won or because I'd made them pay, but because I'd finally claimed the one thing no one could take from me, the truth of who I was and who I wanted to be. Some people spend their whole lives running from pain. I'd walked straight through mine and come out stronger on the other side.